Greetings, Mindcrafters, and welcome to another Mindcraft discussion. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and where's little Giovanni? There's Giovanni, and we are here to have another amazing discussion on this amazing day with this amazing snow. It's absolutely, I don't like to use the word perfect too much, but it's bordering on heaven right here. It's just so crazy. And it's not even super duper cold, it's just ideal. Anyway, G and I are here. Giovanni. Hey, Giovanni. No, he's too busy getting the snow out of his paws. We are here to talk about keeping your bucket full. And I will tell you, right about now, we're closing in on spring break. First, my students have midterms. And so I usually do our own break. We call it our own break, somewhere in the middle. Because quite honestly, usually the Thursday before break starts, nothing's going in the cabeza anyway. May as well watch My Cousin Vinny. Okay? So that's what we did. Only this year, I expanded it to make it Rockstar Appreciation Week. That's what I call them, my rock stars, because I love them. Absolutely, I'm crazy about them. I love them so much. They're wonderfully different, and they're so intelligent, and they're just amazing. So anyway, but it's not a break from content. It's a break from having anything due, because I have something to do every single day, even if it's like small and it's a discussion prompt or whatever. So what we're doing is, because we just finished up with false eyewitness testimony, we're watching My Cousin Vinny, and the class isn't long enough to watch it at one shot, so we're watching it twice. But before I did that, broken into 2 days, so Monday and Thursday. So before we did that, though, I did something, because the whole idea of the break, our break, and then their break after they have presentations, is to just step back a little bit. You're still learning, but we don't need to go at that pace. We just took a little step back, and so far they're loving it. So before we started the movie, I started that halfway through the first class, because that's enough, because with the second class, it's enough. And I brought snacks and everything. Thursday's going to be pizza and popcorn. If they're watching now, they know that. And so I started with sort of just, then it's cognitive psychology. It's not Mindcraft, but it's all about how the brain works. So it's very, very related. Because as they all know, we have the control to rewire our brain. And so I did a thing with how full is your bucket. I'm forgetting the author. So you know what? I will put that in the down low there in the blurb about whatever's going on in this YouTube. And I'm going to put it there so you have it, because it's a children's book. And so I read that to them just like we were in third grade, and they loved it. They absolutely, here comes the wind. Here we go. Okay, pausing. So, this is awesome. Oh, look at it over there. Isn't that crazy? Oh, it's wild. Okay, so we talked about, I did a little go-around about what happens if we talk about and take care of ourselves. What do people say? What do people say if it's really important for me to do this for myself? It's really important for me to do that for myself. Pretty right away, they came up with selfish, that you're selfish. And we got into what prevents us from taking care of ourselves. And it's time is a big one. They said workload, which is part of the same thing. And also because that stigma of, if you do, people are going to think you're all about yourself, right? And so we talked about that, hashtag self-care is not selfish. And we talked about what my dear friend Oprah talks about frequently, which is our number one job is to keep ourselves filled up. And she does this little spiel where she talks about, I know somebody said it to her once. She said, full of herself. She said, full of herself. And she said, yes, yeah. And that's a compliment, because we're talking about filling ourselves up, because we cannot give what we don't have. We cannot give what we don't have. And my students came up with that all on their own. If you have an empty cup, you can't share it with anybody. And so the cup thing, we talked about whatever's in the cup, filled up and overflowing. Whatever's in the cup is for you. What spills out for everybody is for everybody else. So part of this chat today is our main job is to keep ourselves filled up, so that we're operating at our best. And we also talked about, this is the second part, is that there is no honor in martyrdom, and there's no honor in being burnt out. And we talked about, here's regular tired, here's exhausted, here's fatigued, here's I don't care anymore, burnt out. And when I asked them what is here, it's interestingly 2 classes back to back said the same thing in stereo. One student over here said burnt, maybe a few said burnt out, and over here I got depressed. And they're all right, because when we used to care about something, and now, and we know we do deep down, but we're not feeling like we care, that can really lead to sadness and depression. And I actually had that experience when I was doing a recent gig about self-care to a university and their student affairs division. And here you had these incredible people. I mean, superheroes. That's a mix of everybody, right? Counseling and student activities. It's like all the fun people. It's all the healing people. It's everybody. Such good people saying, I don't know what's wrong. I care about them so much. And it got to the point where we were down so many staff because of this and that. And I know that I care somewhere. And then so people end up feeling badly about themselves. These super amazing people. And so we call that burnout. That's when you've been going full tilt. Your cup is empty and like tipped over. You know, it's just so not a place we want to land. And then I asked my students, how do burned out people, who are usually good people, how do they often act? And out it came, crabby, impatient, short fuse, blah, 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 blah. Or they just isolate. And I think one of the students said basically that. I think he didn't say isolate, though. Withdrawn, I think he said. Don't want to do anything. Yeah, because they're miserable and the spark went out. And so we want to prevent the spark from going out. There is no honor in being burnt out. And so we talked about how do we keep our buckets full? And and then one after the other, they were actually all different. Usually you'd think there'd be overlap. There really wasn't. A couple of close overlaps, but all different. They come up with listening to music. A lot of them said doing different things with friends, which is music, no pun intended, to my ears, because we know that relationships are the number one as far as well-being and longevity, living a long life, right? So we just don't want to land in that place of sad, alone, isolated, and no longer caring about anything. Because that would, and I understand why some of the students said burnt out and some said depressed. Because if we define depression, right out of the DSM-5, right there would be, ceasing to care about activities that used to make you happy. Different wording, but the same idea. So the whole thing is that also once we learn how to take care of ourselves and learn to prioritize ourselves and learn to keep us filled up, we are really on the track to feeling whole and complete once again, or maybe for the first time if you haven't felt whole and complete before. And we also learn to set appropriate, respectful boundaries. My cup's dipping at half. I need to replenish. I just need to replenish. I got to say no to this. Also, one of them, I was really proud of her, because a lot of times it takes people getting to their 40s, 50s, and 60s to figure this out. But to not just say yes to things with people who are in your life, or maybe, I think she said maybe had slipped out of your life and trying to get back in, but they just don't do it for you anymore. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. You just don't have, there's no spark there. They're not bringing you joy. There's no personal growth. It's just more habit and routine. And there's only so many life minutes in one day. And just to subtly get out of that with kindness is a really good idea. Just like when I was explaining in a different episode, when sometimes first years sign up for like 97 clubs when they get there. And that's good in the beginning because you want to put yourself out there. But once you figure out, geez, digging for something in the snow, I'm not really sure what. Once you figure out that, you're really not into chess, you're really into the board game club, or you're really into French club or whatever, you got to say no to the other stuff so you can full throttle with the things that light your heart on fire, things that make you happy. So once we really get in a place where we're able to sort of create this shit-giving budget, right, where we only spend our life minutes, doing what makes our heart sing. And it doesn't mean, because I was really clear with my rock stars, your best friends just had a breakup or something, or heart's cracking down the middle. That counts for what you want to do, right? We're not saying to just be shallow house and only focus on, well, I want that now. No, your main people you stop the world for, of course. It's the idea is living deliberately and realizing to spend your life minutes as if they're cash. And so to kind of ease out of some of those less meaningful habitual relationships that no longer do it for you. Not, I mean just romantic, I mean any relationships. It's just this automatic meeting for lunch once a month, and it's a gorgeous day outside, and you don't want to sit in the cafeteria. You want to be outside with your sandwich on the bench, maybe under a nice tree. Like, you got to really listen to that, because because not doing so leads to burnout. And burned out people, quite honestly, right, Jay, are just not that much fun to be around. There is no honor in it. And, eventually we're all going to have a memorial stone or memorial tree or something. And do we want it to say on there, said yes to everybody all the time? I don't. Never missed a day of work, never did this. No, heck no. I want to go sliding into home, you know, safe. Live the life, man. You know what I'm saying? And so it's so important to prevent burnout because, like we say, prevention's the best medicine. You know, lots of different contexts will say that because it's much harder. Just like if you feel a headache coming on, it's much easier to get on it with that head massage, hot tea and stuff before it's full throb, because it's much tougher to get rid of full throb pain than it is to prevent the pain from happening in the first place. Okay. And so, and that's it. And once you are taking care of yourself, your cup is full, your cup is overflowing so you can be your best self and help other people. And you're able to set boundaries. Being around, you are delicious to be around. Delish to be around. Very, very important. So that's it. Keep your cup full and avoid burnout, and you will be delicious. This is Kimberly Quinn and little Giovanni signing off from the beautiful northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.